Hey guys, tonight we're going to slow things down and sit with a story that matters. Meet Lila Thornton, a 42-year-old Marine sniper back in Franklin, Tennessee, after years of dodging bullets in Iraq. She's tough, the kind of woman who carries war's weight in her steady hands, but all she wants now is a quiet life. Instead, she's about to face a betrayal that cuts deeper than any battlefield scar. Racial profiling in her own hometown, where her service means nothing to those who see only skin. Before we begin, please like the video and subscribe, but only if stories like this truly move you. Comment your city and the time you're watching. Now close your eyes or don't, it's your choice. Either way, you're about to witness something real. Lila Thornton steps into the Walmart on Murfreesboro Road, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing like a distant drone. It's a Thursday afternoon, 4:30 p.m., and the air smells of floor wax and overripe bananas. Her boots, still scuffed from desert sand, tread lightly on the linoleum, each step deliberate, as if she's scanning for threats in a market square in Fallujah. She's been back in Franklin, Tennessee for 6 days, her body still wired to a soldier's rhythm. Wake at dawn, check corners, stay alert. The ache in her lower back, a souvenir from a bad cot at the VA hospital, pulses faintly as she pulls a crumpled list from her jacket pocket. Almond milk, eggs, bread. Simple things. Normal things. Her earbuds noise-canceling, but silent nestle in her ears, a barrier against the world's chatter. She's not ready for small talk, not yet. The town feels foreign, its strip malls and pickup trucks, a far cry from the jagged horizons of Iraq. She weaves through aisles, past a toddler smearing yogurt on a cart and an old man squinting at soup cans. Her reflection flickers in a freezer door. Short-cropped hair, brown skin, eyes that don't linger long on anything. She's 42, but war has carved deeper lines around her mouth, a map of nights spent peering through a rifle scope. Her phone vibrates, a text from her cousin Marcus. "You good call if you need me." She doesn't reply, not because she's cold, but because words feel heavy, like they might anchor her to a place she's not sure she belongs. Franklin's supposed to be home, but it's a town of manicured lawns and whispered judgments, where her Marine Corps hoodie draws stares as often as nods. In aisle 7, she reaches for a carton of eggs, her fingers brushing the cool plastic. That's when she senses it, a shift, like the air before a sandstorm. Shadows move at the aisle's ends, quick and purposeful. She turns, instincts flaring, and sees them, 5 officers, Navy uniforms, stark against the store's bright chaos. Their hands rest on holsters, eyes locked on her. Hands up now. One barks, a young man with a buzz cut and a voice too loud for the space. His gun's drawn, barrel steady. Lila's pulse spikes, but her training kicks in slow movements, no surprises. She sets the eggs down, deliberate, and raises her hands, palms open. "Sir, I think there is a mistake," she says, voice low. Steady, the way she'd calm a jumpy private in a firefight. "Mistake," the officer snaps, stepping closer. "Turn around. You match the description." His words hit like shrapnel. "Shoplifting, suspect female, black, mid-40s. Lila's jaw tightens, but she complies, turning to face the shelves. The cuffs click, cold and too tight, biting her wrists. Shoppers freeze. A woman clutches her purse. A teenage boy in a Titan's cap pulls out his phone, recording. "What's she done?" a voice whispers, but no one answers. Lila's cheeks burn, not from shame, but from the weight of eyes, dozens of them boring into her, like she's a specimen. "I'm a Marine," she says louder, now facing the officer who cuffed her. "My ID's in my wallet, check it." He doesn't. Instead, he pats her pockets, finds her wallet, and tosses it into a plastic bag with a smirk. "We'll sort it at the station," he says, his partner, a wiry man with a mustache, nodding along. The march out is a blur of faces, some curious, some averted, a few angry, but silent. Lila keeps her gaze forward, ignoring the sting of metal on her skin. Outside, the Tennessee sun is harsh, glinting off the cruiser's hood as they push her inside. "You don't belong here," the buzz-cut officer mutters, slamming the door. She catches her reflection in the window, eyes fierce, unyielding, a soldier's resolve intact despite the humiliation. The drive to the Franklin police station is silent, save for the radio's static and the occasional cough from the officer beside her. Lila's mind drifts to Iraq, to a night in Ramadi when she held a rooftop position for 14 hours, her scope trained on a street where insurgents hid. She'd saved a convoy that night, her shot clean and true. Now her hands are bound, her service reduced to a blurry description. At the station, they fingerprint her photograph, her, and strip her of her belt and phone. "Can I make a call?" she asks a sergeant behind a glass window. "Once we process you," the woman replies, barely glancing up. They lead her to a cell, a gray box with cinder block walls and a sour tang of bleach. No bench, no clock, just cold concrete. Lila lowers herself to the floor, her back against the wall, and closes her eyes. The cell feels like a sniper's nest, confined, exposed, waiting. Memories creep in the weight of her rifle, the sting of sand in her eyes, the laughter of her squad over burnt coffee. She'd carried them through hell, but here she's alone, her uniform no shield against suspicion. Her mother's voice echoes a refrain from childhood. "Hold your head high, Lila. Truth don't bend." She clenches her fists, the cuffs bite, a reminder of where she is. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. Outside, the world doesn't pause. The teenage boy's video, shaky but clear, hits TikTok with a caption. "Marine arrested at Walmart for matching a description. This ain't right." By evening, it's got 10,000 views, comments flooding in. "She was so calm. They ignored her ID. This is why we can't trust the system." Lila doesn't know this yet, sitting in the cell's dim glow, her wrists bruising purple. But in Franklin's quiet corners, barbershops, church groups, VFW halls, whispers are starting. People are watching, and someone somewhere is about to speak her name. The cell doors clang echoes as an officer slides a paper plate through the slot. Gray eggs, a slice of toast like cardboard. No water, no words. Lila stares at the tray, her stomach twisting, not from hunger, but from the indignity. She leans back, her Marine Corps hoodie bunched against the wall, and thinks of her mother Esther, who doesn't even know she's back from deployment. Lila had planned to surprise her this weekend, maybe cook her famous peach cobbler and laugh over old photos. Now she's here caged for nothing, her service a footnote to a cop's snap judgment. The fluorescent buzz overhead feels like a taunt stripping away time. Hours crawl, maybe 2, maybe 6. A distant door slams, another prisoner coughs, but Lila stays still. Her breathing measured, a sniper's calm. She traces the bruises on her wrists, each one a mark of betrayal, not just by the officers, but by the town she'd fought for. Franklin, with its tidy parks and support our troops, signs had always felt like a tightrope, welcoming until it wasn't. She'd grown up here dodging slurs in high school, proving herself in ROTC, only to leave for war and return to this. Her mind snags on the boy with the phone, his wide eyes as he filmed. Did he post it? Did anyone care? She doesn't know, but the thought plants a seed, fragile but stubborn. She shifts her boots, scraping the concrete, and whispers to herself, "Hold your head high." It's not a prayer, not a plea, just a promise to herself, to Esther, to the ghosts of her squad. The cell feels smaller now, but Lila's resolve grows, a quiet fire stoked by every slight. She doesn't sleep, not a wink, as the night stretches on heavy with the weight of what's to come. Lila Thornton sits in the cell, her back pressed against the cinder block wall, the chill seeping through her Marine Corps hoodie. The fluorescent light above hums a relentless drone that gnaws at the edges of her patience. It's past midnight now, though she can't be sure. Time in here is a thief stealing hours without a trace. Her wrists throb where the cuffs bit too deep, purple bruises blooming like storm clouds under her skin. She traces them with a fingertip, wincing, and thinks of the desert where pain was a signal to keep moving, not to sit still. But here in this gray box in Franklin, Tennessee, there's nowhere to go. The air smells of bleach and despair, and the only sound is the occasional shuffle of boots down the hall. She closes her eyes, but sleep won't come. Instead, memories claw their way in nights in Iraq, crouched in a sniper's nest, her breath steady as she waited for the shot that would save lives. That was control. This is chaos. The paper plate of cold eggs and cardboard toast lies untouched in the corner, a mockery of care. Lila's stomach churns, not from hunger, but from the indignity of it all. She'd faced worse sandstorms, ambushes, the weight of a squad's trust, but nothing like this. Being cuffed in a Walmart, her military ID ignored her service, reduced to a blurry description. Black female, mid-40s. The officer's sneer. "You don't belong here," echoes in her mind, each word a blade. She clenches her fists, the bruises pulsing, and whispers her mother's refrain. "Hold your head high, Lila. Truth don't bend." It's a lifeline tethering her to the woman she's fought to become, not the suspect they've labeled her. Outside these walls, Franklin hums with his own rhythm, late-night diners, porch lights, the soft glow of TVs in suburban homes. But Lila's world is this cell, its concrete floor draining the warmth from her bones. She shifts her boots, scraping, and thinks of her cousin Marcus, who texted yesterday. He's probably asleep now, unaware she's here. She'd planned to call him, maybe meet for coffee at the corner cafe where they'd laugh about her bad hospital food and his worst dating stories. Instead, she's caged, her phone confiscated, her voice silenced. The thought of her mother, Esther, stings most. Esther, who'd pinned Lila's marksmanship badge on her fridge, doesn't even know she's back from Iraq. Lila had wanted to walk through her door arms full of cobbler ingredients and see that proud smile. Now she's a name on a police report, a video clip spreading like wildfire. That video, the teenage boy in the Titan's cap, his phone-raised eyes wide with shock. Lila replays the moment, wondering if he shared it, if anyone cared. She doesn't know. It's hit 50,000 views by now, the TikTok caption. Marine arrested at Walmart for matching a description. This ain't right. Igniting comments like sparks. She didn't even flinch. They dissed her service. Franklin PD do better. In VFW halls and church basements, people are starting to talk. A retired colonel in Nashville sees the clip and frowns, recognizing Lila's name from a commendation letter. A local barber shares it, muttering, "This is our town." But Lila, locked away, feels only the cell's weight, its silence louder than any crowd. A door clangs down the hall, and Lila's eyes snap open. Footsteps approach, heavy, deliberate. An officer different from the one who cuffed her peers through the bars. He's older, with a graying mustache and tired eyes. "Thornton," he says, voice flat. "You'll get your call soon. Sit tight." She nods, her face a mask of calm, though her pulse races. "Water?" she asks, her throat dry. He hesitates, then walks away without a word. Lila leans back, her head thudding softly against the wall. The slight feels personal, a reminder of her place in their eyes, suspect not soldier. She thinks of Ramadi, a night when her squad shared their last MRE, joking about who'd get the chocolate bar. That was family. This is exile. Her mind drifts to Franklin's history, the town's polished surface hiding old scars. She'd grown up here, one of the few black girls in her high school's ROTC, her uniform earning respect and whispers in equal measure. Ambitious. They'd called her as if it was a surprise. She'd left for the Marines to prove them wrong, to carve her name in something bigger than this town's small minds. But war didn't erase prejudice. It just gave her new battles. Back home, the "Support Our Troops" signs feel hollow when a cop can cuff her without a second glance. She shifts her hoodie, catching on the rough wall, and feels the weight of every stare from the Walmart, curious, judging, silent. The cell door rattles again, and the same officer returns, sliding a plastic cup of water through the slot. No words, just a grunt. Lila takes it, the water tepid, but a small victory. She sips slowly, savoring the control it gives her. Her military ID, still in that plastic bag somewhere, feels like a talisman, proof of who she is. She'd shown it proudly, expecting it to matter. The officer's smirk, as he tossed it aside, replays in her mind, a wound deeper than the bruises. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. She sets the cup down, her fingers steady, and thinks of the boy with the phone again. If he shared that video, maybe someone's listening. Maybe someone's asking why. By 3 a.m., the cell feels smaller, the air thicker. Lila stands, stretching her stiff legs, her boots echoing in the quiet. She paces 3 steps, one way, 3 back, a soldier's habit to stay sharp. Her mind snags on her squad in Iraq: Jackson, who'd sing off-key to calm nerves. Ruiz, who'd sketch skylines on napkins. They'd trusted her to lead, to shoot. True. Here, trust is a luxury she can't afford. She stops, leaning against the wall, and whispers, "Hold your head high." It's not just Esther's voice now. It's hers, a vow to endure. The bruises on her wrists pulse, a reminder of the cuffs, the store, the betrayal. But they also mark her survival, a badge of what she's carried. Outside, the video's reach grows. A Marine buddy, Staff Sergeant Elena Carter, sees it on her phone in Knoxville and freezes. That's Lila. She tells her husband, voice shaking. She shares it, tagging veterans groups, her post sharp. "This is Staff Sergeant Thornton, who saved my squad in Fallujah." Franklin PD explained this. By dawn, the clip's at 100,000 views, comments raging. She's a hero, not a thief. This is systemic. Justice for Lila. A local reporter sipping coffee in a Franklin diner bookmarks the link, sensing a story. But Lila, pacing her cell, knows none of this. She feels only the concrete, the bruises, the silence. The first hint of morning creeps through a high barred window, a sliver of gray light cutting the gloom. Lila stops, pacing, her breath visible in the chill. She thinks of Esther again, her mother's hands kneading dough, her voice firm. Truth don't bend. Lila's not sure what truth will come of this, but she knows she won't break. She sits her back straight and waits. The cell is a cage, but her mind is a battlefield, and she's fought on worse ground. The world outside is stirring, voices rising, but for now she holds her silence, her strength, a quiet fire no one can extinguish. Lila Thornton stands in the cell as dawn's gray light filters through the barred window, casting faint stripes across the concrete. The air is stale, heavy, with the weight of a night without sleep, but her eyes are sharp, scanning the room like she's back in a sniper's nest waiting for movement. Her wrists ache, the bruises now a deep violet, but she holds them still, refusing to let pain dictate her posture. The Franklin police station hums faintly beyond the cinder block walls, phones ringing, boots, scuffing, voices muffled, but sharp with authority. She's been here nearly 24 hours. No call, no answers, just the echo of her own thoughts and her mother's refrain. Hold your head high, Lila. Truth don't bend. It's a mantra now, steadying her as the world outside begins to stir in ways she can't yet see. The cell door clanks, and the older officer with the graying mustache appears, his face softer than before, but still guarded. Thornton, you're up, he says, unlocking the door. Court's today. Let's move. Lila nods, her expression unreadable, though her pulse quickens. She steps into the hallway, her boots echoing on the linoleum, her Marine Corps hoodie wrinkled but defiant. They hand her a plastic bag with her wallet, belt, and a slip for her phone, still at Walmart. Any chance I get that call now? She asks, voice calm but edged. The officer shrugs. After court, maybe. She clenches her jaw, swallowing the urge to push back. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled. Outside, Franklin wakes under a thin fog, the kind that clings to the rolling hills and strip malls before burning off by noon. Lila's led to a county van, her hands uncuffed, but her dignity still chained. The drive to the Rutherford County Courthouse is short past familiar landmarks. First Baptist steeple, the diner where she used to split fries with Marcus. The town feels like a stranger now. Its welcome home banners mocking her. She thinks of a rack of nights when the only certainty was her rifle's weight. Here, certainty is a luxury and trust a gamble. The van pulls up to the courthouse, a squat brick building with flags snapping in the breeze. Reporters linger on the steps, their cameras glinting, but Lila keeps her eyes forward, her stride measured, a soldier's discipline. Inside, the courthouse smells of polish and old paper, its halls buzzing with clerks and lawyers. Lila's escorted to a holding area where a public defender, a wiry woman in her 30s named Carla Hayes, greets her. Layla, I'm Carla, she says, flipping through a thin file. This case is flimsy, blurry description, no evidence. I'm pushing for dismissal. Lila nods, her face a mask, but her chest tightens with cautious hope. They didn't check my ID, she says, voice low. I told them who I was. Carla's eyes flicker with anger. Yeah, I read that. We'll make it count. Lila's lips twitch, not a smile, but an acknowledgement. She's not alone, not entirely. The courtroom doors open and Lila steps in, her boots soft on the worn carpet. The room is half full, retirees with notepads, a few college kids, a man in a VFW cap watching intently. Her mother, Esther, sits near the back, her Sunday hat a quiet rebellion, her eyes locked on Lila with a fierce unspoken. I'm here. Lila meets her gaze, her throat tight, then looks away, focusing on the judge's bench. Her heart pounds, not from fear, but from the weight of being seen, judged again. She takes her place beside Carla. Her hands clasp the bruises, hidden but pulsing. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, named Margaret Voss, enters, her glasses glinting under the lights. State versus Thornton, she says, voice clipped. Let's make this quick. Carla stands, her voice steady. Your Honor, we move to dismiss. No warrant, no evidence, just a vague description and an ignored military ID. Voss raises an eyebrow, scanning the file. Noted, state's response. The prosecutor, a young man with a slick tie, fumbles. We're reviewing, Your Honor. The officer acted on reasonable suspicion. Lila's fingers tighten, but she stays silent, her face carved from stone. Reasonable suspicion. The words sting a reminder of how easily her service was erased. She thinks of the Walmart, the shoppers, stares the boy with the phone. Did his video matter? She doesn't know it's at 200,000 views, now shared by veterans, activists, a local pastor who preached about it last night. Comments burn. She's a hero. Franklin PD's a disgrace. Justice now. Outside, the fog lifts, but tension builds. A Marine buddy, Captain Jamal Reese, sees the video in Memphis and calls his old CO, his voice urgent. That's Thornton, ma'am. She saved my platoon in 19. His CO, Colonel Diane Patel, forwards it to a general, her email terse. This is one of ours. Fix it. In Franklin, a reporter, Maya Chen, types furiously in the courthouse lobby, her story taking shape. Marine hero wrongly detained. But Lila in the courtroom feels only the weight of the moment, the eyes on her back, the prosecutor's weak defense. They profiled me, she whispers to Carla, her voice a blade. Carla nods, scribbling a note. We'll use it. The hearing stalls as Voss questions the prosecutor, her tone sharp. You detained a decorated Marine on a hunch. Where's the report? The prosecutor stammers, and Lila's hope flickers, fragile but growing. She thinks of Esther, whose nod in the crowd felt like armor. She thinks of her squad, their trust, a lifeline in chaos. Here, trust is thin, but Carla's fight, Esther's presence, the VFW man's stare, they're enough to keep her steady. She shifts her hoodie, catching on the chair, and feels the bruises again, a map of betrayal, but also endurance. Hold your head high. The words anchor her, a promise she won't break. A murmur ripples through the courtroom as the doors creak open. A young woman with a press badge slips in her camera, subtle but active. Lila doesn't see her, but she feels the shift like a breeze before a storm. The video's reach is spreading 300,000 views. Now hashtags trending, #Justice for Lila, Marines Matter. A local activist group plans a vigil outside the station, candles ready. But Lila's world is this room, its air thick with anticipation. Voss leans forward, her voice cutting through. I'm inclined to dismiss, but I want the officer's statement. Lila's breath catches her eyes fixed on the bench. Dismissal is close, but not enough. She wants her name cleared, her honor restored. The man in the VFW cap leans forward, whispering to a retiree. She's one of us. They messed up bad. Lila doesn't hear it, but she feels the room's pulse, its mix of doubt and support. She thinks of the boy with the phone, his wide eyes as he filmed. His video is a spark, and Franklin's starting to burn with questions. Lila sits taller, her silence a weapon, her strength a shield. The bruises on her wrist throb, but they're not defeat. They're evidence, a story she'll tell when the time comes. For now, she waits, her gaze steady, a soldier in a fight she didn't choose but won't lose. Lila Thornton sits at the defendant's table, her hands clasped tightly, the bruises on her wrists hidden beneath the sleeves of her Marine Corps hoodie. The Rutherford County Courthouse hums with tension, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and nervous anticipation. Judge Margaret Voss leans forward, her glasses glinting as she scans the thin file before her. I'm still waiting on the officer's statement, she says, voice sharp, cutting through the courtroom's murmurs. Lila's chest tightens, but her face remains a mask of calm, her eyes fixed on the judge's bench. The weight of the moment presses down her, service, her dignity, her name and all hanging on a thread. Esther, her mother, sits in the back, her Sunday hat a beacon of quiet fury, her gaze locked on Lila like a lifeline. The room is a mosaic of faces, retirees scribbling notes, college kids whispering, a VFW veteran with a clenched jaw. Lila feels their eyes, but she holds her head high, her mother's words a steady pulse. Truth don't bend. Carla Hayes, her public defender, leans closer, her voice a whisper. We're close, Lila. This case is crumbling. Lila nods, a flicker of hope sparking in her chest, but doubt lingers. The prosecutor, a young man with a slick tie, shuffles papers, his earlier confidence fraying. Your Honor, the officer acted in good faith, he stammers. The description matched, Voss's eyebrow arches. A description so vague it could fit half the county. And you ignored her military ID. The prosecutor flinches, and Lila's fingers tighten, her bruises throbbing. She thinks of the Walmart, the officer's sneer. You don't belong here, and the shopper stares, some silent, some filming. That video, unknown to her, has hit 500,000 views. Its caption, Marine arrested for nothing, fueling outrage across Franklin and beyond. The courtroom doors creak open and a hush falls. Lila doesn't turn, but she senses the shift like the air before a desert storm. Heavy boots echo on the carpet, deliberate, commanding. A man steps forward, his presence slicing through the room's tension like a blade. General Victor Langston, mid-60s, black, with 4 stars on his Marine dress uniform and ribbons gleaming across his chest, stops before the judge's bench. His face is granite, his eyes burning with purpose. Permission to address the court. "Your Honor," he says, voice deep, resonating like a drum. Voss blinks, caught off guard. "Granted," she says, leaning back. Lila's breath catches her heart pounding. She knows Langston's name. He'd signed her Silver Star citation in 19 after she saved a platoon in Fallujah. But why is he here? Langston turns to Lila, his gaze softening for a moment, then hardens as he faces the court. "Staff Sergeant Lila Thornton," he begins, each word deliberate, "is a Marine of unmatched valor. She served 3 tours, led squads through hell, and saved lives under fire. I've read her file medals, commendations, a letter from the commandant himself." He pauses, letting the words sink in. The room is silent, every eye on him, every breath held. Lila's throat tightens, her eyes blazing with a mix of pride and vindication. Langston turns to Voss, his voice rising. "What happened to her in that Walmart was not a mistake. It was a disgrace, a failure to honor a hero, a failure to see her for who she is. This court, this town, this system failed her." The prosecutor shrinks in his seat. The retirees gasp, and Esther's hand grips her purse, her lips parting in a quiet yes. Lila sits taller, her shoulders loosening the weight of betrayal, lifting, replaced by something fiercer, validation. Langston steps closer to her, his voice lowering but no less powerful. "Staff Sergeant, on behalf of the Marine Corps and every officer who's served with you, I apologize. You deserve better." Lila meets his gaze, her eyes glistening but unyielding. She nods once, a soldier's acknowledgement, her silence louder than any words. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled, and this truth, her honor, her service, burns bright now, undeniable. Voss clears her throat, her stern facade cracking. "General Langston, your statement is noted. This court acknowledges Staff Sergeant Thornton's service." She turns to the prosecutor, her voice icy. "I'm dismissing this case. No charges, no record. And I expect a full review of the officer's actions." The gavel falls sharp and final. Murmurs erupt, the VFW veteran, clapping softly, the college kids exchanging stunned looks. Carla grips Lila's arm, whispering, "We did it." Lila exhales, her chest lighter, but her eyes stay on Langston, who gives her a final nod before stepping back. The lead officer, buzz-cut and absent today, faces suspension, the Franklin PD scrambling under the weight of a viral video, now at 700,000 views, and a growing vigil outside their station. The courtroom doors open again, and a young reporter, Maya Chen, slips in, her camera rolling discreetly. She captures Lila rising, her posture unbroken, and Esther standing, her hat tilted proudly. The footage will air tonight, a segment on veterans' rights, but Lila doesn't know that yet. She feels only the room shift, the eyes now filled with respect, not suspicion. She thinks of the boy with the phone, his video a spark that lit this fire. Outside, Franklin's fog has burned off the sun sharp, but the town's reckoning is just beginning. The video's hashtags, #Justice for Lila Bauer's Marines, matter trend higher, shared by veterans activists, a senator's aide. A local pastor plans a community forum, candles ready for the vigil. Lila steps toward Esther, who meets her halfway, their embrace brief but fierce. "You held your head high," Esther whispers, her voice thick. Lila nods, her throat too tight to speak. The bruises on her wrists pulse, a reminder of the cuffs, but also of her endurance. She thinks of her squad, their trust a ghost in her bones. Langston's words echo. A failure to see her. And she knows this moment isn't just hers. It's for every veteran profiled, every soldier dismissed. The courtroom empties, but the weight of what's happened lingers, a truth unveiled at last. Lila walks out, Esther at her side, the sun warm on her face, her silence, a shield, her strength, a beacon. Lila Thornton steps out of the Rutherford County Courthouse. The Tennessee sun warm on her face, its light cutting through the last wisps of morning fog. The air smells of fresh-cut grass and distant coffee, a stark contrast to the stale cell she left behind. Esther walks beside her, her Sunday hat tilted proudly, her steps steady but close, as if guarding her daughter from the world's sharp edges. Lila's Marine Corps hoodie hangs loose, the bruises on her wrists, hidden but pulsing, a quiet reminder of the cuffs, the Walmart, the betrayal. Her boots hit the pavement with purpose, each step reclaiming ground Franklin tried to take. The courthouse steps buzz with reporters, their cameras glinting, but Lila keeps her eyes forward, her silence a shield. She feels the town watching its manicured lawns, its "support our troops" signs, its whispers, now louder questioning. The viral video at 1 million views has cracked something open, and Franklin's reckoning grows. They pause on the sidewalk, Esther's hand brushing Lila's arm. "You need to eat, baby," she says, voice soft but firm. Lila almost smiles, the normalcy of it grounding her. "Peach cobbler," she asks, a flicker of their old rhythm. Esther nods, her eyes glistening. "Only if you peel the peaches." They walk toward Esther's old Buick, parked under a sycamore, its leaves casting dappled shadows. Lila's mind drifts to Iraq, to nights when her squad shared stories over MREs, their laughter a defiance of death. Here, laughter feels distant, but Esther's presence is a tether pulling her back to herself. She thinks of General Langston's words, "a failure to see her," and feels their weight not as a wound but as a charge. Some truths linger, waiting to be unveiled, and Lila's truth is spreading, carried by voices she hasn't heard. The video's reach is a wildfire, now shared by veterans, pastors, a Nashville councilwoman who tweeted, "Lila Thornton deserves better, so do we all." Comments flood in, "She's a hero." Franklin PD owned this. "This is why I left the South." A vigil forms outside the police station, candles flickering as activists and veterans stand in quiet solidarity. Maya Chen's news segment airs her footage of Lila's courtroom moment, head high, Langston at her side, drawing 2 million views by evening. But Lila, climbing into the Buick, knows none of this. She feels only the bruises, the sun, her mother's steady breathing. They drive to Esther's house, a modest rancher with a porch swing and a fridge still holding Lila's marksmanship badge. The normalcy of it, cracked linoleum, the hum of a box fan, feels like a gift, fragile but real. At the kitchen table, Lila sips iced tea, the glass sweating in her hand. Esther kneads dough, her movements deliberate, a ritual of care. "You gonna talk about it?" she asks, not looking up. Lila traces the bruises, her voice low. "Not yet, but I will." Esther nods, her silence an invitation, not a push. Lila thinks of the boy with the phone, his wide eyes as he filmed. His video was a spark, but the fire it lit belongs to others. Now her squad mate Elena, who shared it in Knoxville. Colonel Patel, who called in Langston. Strangers who saw themselves in her story. She pulls out her phone, returned by a nervous clerk at Walmart, and sees the notifications, text from Marcus, voicemails from reporters, a message from a local high school counselor, Miss Renee Bell. "Staff Sergeant Thornton, our JROTC kids saw your video. They're shaken. Will you speak to them? Just truth, 20 minutes. Lila reads it twice, her thumb hovering over the screen. She thinks of Iraq, of teaching young privates to steady their aim, to trust their gut. These kids, she senses, need something else, proof that service isn't a trap, that dignity can endure. "I'm doing it," she tells Esther, her voice firm. Esther looks up, dough dusting her hands. "Good, but you eat first." Lila laughs, a small sound, but real, the first in days. The bruises throb, but they're not chains. They're evidence, a story she's ready to tell. She peels peaches, the knife steady in her hand, and feels the weight of her own strength, quiet but unyielding. A week later, Lila stands in the Franklin High Auditorium. No uniform, just jeans and a charcoal sweater. Her posture, a soldier's, shoulders back, eyes clear. The room is packed with JROTC kids. Some slouched, others alert, their faces a mix of doubt and curiosity. A boy in a green jacket, maybe 16, crosses his arms, his eyes challenging. Ms. Bell introduces, her voice warm. "Staff Sergeant Thornton's here to share her truth." Lila steps to the mic, the room quieting. "I'm not here to sell you on the Marines," she begins, her voice steady, resonant. "I'm here because you saw what happened to me, and you're wondering if it's worth it." She pauses, letting the words land. "Let me tell you what I know." She speaks of Fallujah, of nights when her scope was her world, of saving lives with a single shot. She speaks of Franklin, of cuffs and sneers, of a town that forgot her. The worst part wasn't the arrest, she says, her voice softening. It was the silence, people watching, saying nothing. The boy in the green jacket shifts his arms, loosening. Lila leans forward, but silence breaks when you speak. I didn't snap that day because I carried more than my name. I carried yours, every kid who dreams big, every vet who feels invisible. A girl raises her hand, voice small. Would you serve again? Lila's eyes meet hers, unwavering. Yes, but I'd speak louder, fight harder for what's right. The room is still. Then applause builds, not loud, but deep, real. Kids approach, after some shaking her hand, one slipping her a note. My dad's a vet, thanks for this. Isabel, eyes shining, whispers. You changed something today. Lila shrugs, her voice low. They were ready. I just showed up. Outside, the sun dips low, painting Franklin's hills gold. Lila walks to her truck, the bruises fading, but present a map of her fight. She thinks of Esther, of Langston, of the boy with the phone. Hold your head high. The words are hers now, a vow carried forward. In the weeks that follow, Franklin shifts. The officer who cuffed her suspended faces a review. The PD's apology thin and late draws scorn. Vigils grow candles lining the station steps, photos of veterans pinned to a board. Lila volunteers at a community center teaching kids discipline, not war, how to breathe through fear, how to see each other. People stare in town, some with awe, others with shame, but she meets their eyes, her silence a strength. At home, Esther keeps a photo from the courtroom on the fridge, Lila Langston, truth unveiled. One night, clearing dishes, Esther asks, you feel whole again? Lila pauses, then smiles faintly. Not whole, stronger. In a nation built on second chances, Lila's story is a quiet victory, not of revenge, but of dignity reclaimed. Her voice, once silenced, now carries inspiring kids, veterans, strangers who write letters, their words piling on her table like offerings. She reads them under a single lamp, her bruises nearly gone, her heart full. Franklin may never fully heal, but Lila has her strength, a light, her truth, a call to see, to speak, to stand. End of story. Thanks for listening.